Good evening, my beautiful family and friends from the IP Resilience and Top Talk with Ilona. And we are having the repeat guest because this world is struggling about something that they're not speaking about much. Yeah, we probably would rather talk about food, we talk about gossip, about something else, or about social media phenomenon, but we are silent about something that really bothers us and affects the marriages and themselves as well. And this is the porn, the pornography, the effect of it. And we have with us the expert on this topic that we're going to talk about seven sexual hurts. And we want to welcome back Dr. Sam. Dr. Sam, please talk about what, first of all, define the pornography. What is pornography and how we can just identify that?
A husband's eyes are meant to be for his wife, period. They are meant to captivate him, stimulate him, intoxicate him, where he is like blown away by her. Doesn't matter what she looks like. It's the fact that she gives her body to him and her body belongs to him, just like his body belongs to her. Anything that kind of messes that up, where it puts different pictures or partners or positions in your mind away from your partner, you're playing with fire and you're going to get burnt. And you're going to end up, if you're doing a lot of it before you get married, all those visual images are going to come in mind. Where I counseled a gentleman once who was 24 and he said he wanted to get married. This is in my book. He said, I want to get married. And I said, well, good. So we talked about it for like we talked about everything. And he just wasn't content. He'd always go with somebody. He was a good looking man. And then he'd break up with them. So after about a year of dealing with different topics and counseling, I was like at my wit's end on what to say to him. Like, what's the deal here? Why are you not getting it? And then one day, out of the blue, just out of the blue, I said, Jim, do you do porn? And he said, well, why do you ask? I said, do you do porn? He said, yeah, I've been doing it for 10 years. Oh, we might have gotten into the actual reason now why you're not content with one person. And his dad gave it to him, and they've been doing it for 10 years. His dad would give him what he was finished looking at. So porn was a normal part of his life. And, like many people today, what's the big deal? It's just harmless pictures. No, it's not harmless pictures because in his mind, he was always comparing the girls he was going out with to these other, photoshopped and perfect bodies. And it's like, so he was never, so I said, Jim, your contentment, is going to be gone because you've got too many other pictures in your head. And so we got to stop this. We got to change this around. You're supposed to be satisfied with just her. We just got to change your personality a little bit. And porn had done that to him, where, you're never content. You're always comparing, no matter what they look like, no matter what type of sexual freakiness they do, it's still never going to compare to the stuff you see. So it just breeds discontentment in gentlemen and makes them, number one, think about just sexual stuff instead of life. It makes lust look like important. It makes love look bad. It just, I'm just sorry, but it just, you're equipped to have one wife whose body is meant to captivate and intoxicate you. And that's okay.
There's a big difference between curiosity and also addiction. So, where is the fine line? People are browsing because they're so curious. And then, when is the line where the curiosity turns into the addiction?
Well, anything in life can be addictive. Anything. Your kids, your computer, your car, your job, your looks, any money. I mean, everything in life, just to be mindful that anything I touch or touches me can easily become addictive. So, addiction is what we typically say that other parts of your life are affected by this one part, which has a bigger percentage than it should. That when other things in your life are affected deeply because of this addiction to one thing, then we have an issue. So, curiosity, of course, God's not surprised. God talks a lot about the eyeballs. They can never get enough. And that the eyes are always a source of temptation, especially for the man. Visual is a big deal. For the ladies, verbal. is a bigger deal. But we won't get into that now. So visual is a big deal. And God says, I'm not surprised that you want to look at it. I created Eve for Adam, and holy moly, my goodness gracious. So I created body and male and female parts. So um, you know, I get it. I get what temptation is, but you know, I go back to that verse about, may you be captivated and intoxicated by her body and her body alone. So curiosity, and while we're on the topic, yeah, porn, there's lots of facts. Porn leads to rape and molestation and all sorts of things. You just can't get enough. You got to have more. It's like, any type of physical, like drinking or smoking, I got to have more and more. Same with porn. And people who thought they would never rape someone else or molest someone else, they did it because the porn, it took a lot more for me to get stimulated. And it becomes quite selfish. And it just, it's not a good thing for society either. I know society thinks it's harmless. That, in fact, there was a poll that said, they took a poll among men who said that not recycling is worse than porn. That if you do porn, that's okay, but if you don't recycle, that's not okay. That that's not true.
You know that we all kind of research, we all look at the social media, and we are not, we have so much information in our hands that it's just pretty much mind blowing. And according to the statistics, the pornography, erotics, the strip club, all of that is a multi-billion-dollar business. So
Mm-hmm.
we have men, we have women. We have everything. Women have everything that men needs. Men have everything women needs. What is the missing link that we all do not contribute to each other? That we have to have this third party source where it will all go through that. So what is it that humanity is missing out? The big thing that we have to have this third thing to help us to stimulate us.
Well, as human beings, we're always going to gravitate towards the creature instead of the creator. And in the Bible, Romans chapter 1, it talks about that the average person, created things. They make their life and God around, created things, which includes, people. And God says, look, you got to focus on the creator, not the creature. And when you put all your emphasis on the creature, I'm not surprised that same-sex attraction and LGBTQ and gender identity and everything else is right around the corner, because it's all about the creature. It's all about how you look. It's all about how you feel. It's all about you. And God says, hey, how about me? I want to be your God. I don't, and even your wife or your husband or your kids, all those things are meant to be second place. So, and then secondly, it's not really anybody else's fault. It's, porn is a pretty big lie. I'm kind of like the abortion mentality. And I tell wives, and I say this carefully, get mad at the culture of porn, just like get mad at the culture of abortion. Ladies think, of course, you abort your baby. That's just what you do. Men think, of course, you look at porn. That's just what you do. So it's the culture that is a huge influence, telling men it's perfectly fine. It's just giggles. Just like with ladies, it's just a clump of cells, no big deal. So get mad at the culture more than you get mad at the person. They were duped. We all are. We're all duped. So, but ladies, don't think that it's your fault that he looks at porn. Okay.
That's good to know. That's
That's
good
what
to
the guy
know
will do.
that.
That's what they'll
But I
always
know
say,
that
well, it's your
men are
fault.
more men are more attracted to it. And it's just like a sex, like it's a need of it. It's a natural thing, just like wanting to eat. It's a natural thing. So knowing what the partner wants, just like you said, it's all about not about us, it's about the partner. If we really learn to communicate with each other, if we really learn how to help one another in this area, that will be great. We also talked in a previous segment about sexless marriage, where it can also lead to the pornography for the man, even in a biblical sense as well, even in the churches that people don't talk about. Lots of pastors, lots of Christians actually are more addicted to that because women usually like to behave. They are not taught in a biblical sense how to satisfy their husbands, how to help them with that. And you were so right in from the previously one that says that we talk about marriage, sex without marriage, but we never talked about sex in a marriage. So, and that's all the pornography and also maybe part of it, how we culturally, right? You said, oh, it's okay to look at the porn. We don't teach the morals anymore. And therefore, it's like a ripple effect. Wherever feels, oh, it's very innocent, can actually be very detrimental to the marriages, to the societies, to the actually man's psychic as well. So what's something else that you have discovered during the while researching about the porn and its addiction?
It's too much for young people to handle. And just like I see young people smoking. Maybe I'm old, Alona. Maybe I'm old, but I wanted to come up to them and say, "Do you know how much life you're going to lose at near the end? You're going to wish that you had these extra 4 days or 4 years left. It's just like it's too much for you. Your body wasn't meant to have it." So I tell the younger people, like, look, um, you know, there's other stuff in life to be focused on right now because this is just going to make you, just thinking about this world, and it's just too much temptation for you. It's like asking you to carry 4,000 pound weight. You can't do it. But in marriage, it's hard enough. I do want to go back to one thing that you had mentioned about the wife meeting her husband's needs. Well, while we're there, the husband's meant to meet her needs too. It goes both ways. It's not just about him and meeting his needs. It's just that, because again, knowing the love language of your partner, that probably for one of you, physical affection is more important than the other one. So knowing that is so important that the best gift I can give you is that. And I heard a speaker one time where it was couples. They were talking to couples, and I'll try to condense it. She said to the wives, she said, "Ladies, just imagine your husband coming home um, every night, and you want to talk to him and tell him about your day and tell him about all the stuff that happened. You just want to talk to him, and he's too busy. He wants to watch TV. He goes in the garage. He goes to his cell phone. He does this. And he just doesn't want to talk to you. And doesn't want to listen at all. So you're not interested. Well, for the first night, you have your feelings hurt. Okay. Well, let's say he does that for a whole week. You're going to start thinking, oh my goodness, our marriage is over. What's wrong? He must have found someone else. Because when he is not willing to just listen to her talk, then she feels unloved. So, ladies, how do you feel if he wouldn't talk to you, if he wouldn't listen to you? Wouldn't that feel horrible? Well, guess what? Duh. That's the same way he feels when sex is not on the table. He feels the same way that you would feel in terms of like, well, she doesn't love me. She's not interested. It's a horrible feeling. So please don't think that it's just about that. It's the same way you feel is the same way he feels. He takes that as rejection, and no one wants to feel rejection, whether it be by listening to them or by touching them and having sexual playtime. We call it playtime with them. Nobody else. So God's not a prude. He says just save it for marriage. And I don't want you entering marriage with all these positions and partners and pictures in your head, you know, because they're never your spouse is never going to measure up. They're just never going to measure up. And by the way, neither will you. If she's watching porn, you ain't looking like what they look like either. So how would you like it? And I tell the men that. I say, how would you like it if she was looking at porn and looking at men whose bodies are much more endowed than yours? How would you feel? Would you feel real confident? Of course not. Well, duh, same way applies. So people have to see the bigger implications of how they're hurting the other person and how they're hurting themselves as well.
It is very powerful, and I'm like so like fascinated talking about this subject again. So, but I know just a few questions. Like, who is responsible for educating our young men and women about the addiction, about the pornography, about just setting them up with the right standards for the to enter the marriage?
Well, I go back to the church, because the church is meant to talk about what God talks about, and that includes all those topics. So, unfortunately, churches and pastors, don't talk about anything that relates to any of these topics. So they're getting their education from, the schools, which is crazy, in terms of, you know, heck, you don't have to tell your parents if you're going to have sex. You don't have to tell your parents if you're going to change your gender. So yeah, it's got to be go back to the parents and the church. In my opinion, that's what in the Old Testament God told the parents to teach your kids all this stuff, and God included a lot of sexual stories in there. There's a whole bunch of sexual stories and sadnesses, in the Old Testament, and God said, make sure you teach your kids about that stuff too.
Yes, I know we put a lot of pressure or lots of responsibility on churches, on the government, on the education, like at a school education and such. But yet it does start at home. We do represent what we know. Our kids see that and they observe everything that is going on in around the house as well. So we have to be strong enough to be a great example to them. So take a 1 minute, and if there's something that you wanted to share that we haven't touched, can you please share with our audience about pornography and about its effects?
The thing I feel led to say is this, that love is better than lust. Love is better than lust. That the best way of expressing love is sacrifice, not sex. Sex anybody can do. But sacrifice, it takes maturity and depth and time. So love is better than lust. In fact, the Bible says, the greatest of all these things is love. So learning how to love another person and giving your body only to them and having your eyes only for them and putting them first and meeting their needs and making them as happy as possible, that's as good as it gets in this life. So love is better than lust. And then, non and then sacrificial expression of love is better than sexual expression of love. And that's something our society and our younger generation doesn't know much about is love and sacrifice. It's all about, their needs being met. You can't believe how many times I hear, well, my needs aren't being met. Well, Jesus talks about meeting the needs of others first. So are you going to be a giver or a taker? It's not all about you. So I just see a lot of selfish narcissism, TikTok, social media stuff. It's all about, ladies showing off their body and guys thinking that that's all that matters. And it's just too much saturation of sexual stuff. You know, love is better than lust.
I like the way you put it all together and summarize it all. So I also pray that we all kind of learn, one way or another to kind of really learn how to sacrifice over the sex and also how to love versus having the lust over each other. And it's all starts with us. So we want to thank you, Dr. Sam, for teaching us, for instructing us, for giving your feedback and being so transparent about talking about this subject. His information will be down below, guys. So please check his website and please contact and connect with Dr. Sam. We want to wish you all the best.
Well, thank you for and thanks for having these topics that hopefully be a blessing to those who listen and watch, because there's a lot of hurting people when it comes to there's a lot of addicted people too. They're in over their heads. They're in over their heads, or they're so sad about their marriage, and there's hope, there's healing for it, but we've got to start talking about it more. So I'm glad for your boldness and courage to have these topics and these hurts on your show. Thank you.
We're looking forward to having you more and more into our show so we can
We have a
really,
ball.
really
We'll have a
change at
blast.
least one person at a time.
But that's a deal.